Hello and welcome back to MS Learn. I am here with you again and I appreciate the time you are giving to this journey. If you are listening to video 5, you are not here by accident. You are here because something inside you wants refinement. Not noise, not speed, but depth. Today's session is for people who want to communicate with intention, people who want their words to carry presence, people who want their English to feel natural, thoughtful, and grounded. We are moving beyond technique now. We are moving toward identity, toward how you show up in the world through language. Because advanced English is not just a skill, it is a mirror of how you think. Let me begin with something honest. There is a difference between speaking English well and speaking English meaningfully. Many people reach a point where they can talk fluently. They can hold conversations. They can express opinions. They can understand almost everything. Yet something still feels missing. Their words feel empty. Their voice feels borrowed. Their sentences feel correct but disconnected. That is where depth begins. Depth is not vocabulary. Depth is awareness. Depth is knowing what you believe. Depth is understanding why you feel what you feel. Depth is having a relationship with your own thoughts. And when you develop that, your English changes naturally. You stop speaking just to fill silence. You start speaking to express meaning. That is the shift. Let's talk about presence. Presence is the energy you bring when you speak. It is not confidence in a loud way. It is not dominance. It is calm attention. Have you ever spoken with someone who made you feel seen? Not because they agreed with everything you said, but because they listened with care. That is presence. And presence is one of the most advanced communication skills because it cannot be faked. It must be practiced internally. When you speak with presence, you do not rush. You do not perform. You do not try to sound impressive. You choose your words slowly. You allow space between thoughts. You let meaning settle. Your English does not feel like a performance. It feels like truth. Let me give you an example. A speaker without presence says, "I think communication is very important for success." A speaker with presence says, "Over time, I realize that the way we communicate often matters more than what we actually say." Same topic, different depth. The second sentence feels lived. It feels observed. It feels real. That is the level we are aiming for. Now let's explore clarity. Advanced speakers value clarity more than complexity. They do not hide behind complicated sentences. They simplify ideas without losing meaning. Clarity is not weakness. Clarity is mastery. For example, instead of saying, "This issue is highly intricate and requires extensive deliberation," you can say, "This is a complex situation and it deserves careful thought." The second version is clearer, more human, more grounded. Advanced English sounds like someone who understands the world, not someone trying to impress it. Let's talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the most powerful foundations of advanced language. When you are aware of your emotions, your patterns, your habits, you gain vocabulary that actually belongs to you. Instead of copying phrases, you create your own voice. You begin to say things like, "I've noticed that I withdraw when I feel misunderstood. I tend to overthink when something matters deeply to me. I'm learning to be more patient with my own progress." These are not memorized lines. These are reflections, and reflections create authenticity. People trust authentic speakers, not because they are perfect, but because they are real. Now let's talk about emotional precision. Most people use general emotional language. They say they feel good, bad, stressed, or fine. Advanced speakers describe emotion with accuracy. Instead of saying, "I feel bad today," they say, "I feel emotionally drained today," or "I feel disconnected today," or "I feel a bit heavy mentally." Instead of saying, "I'm happy," they say, "I feel genuinely content," or "I feel grateful for this moment," or "I feel peaceful in a way I didn't expect." This level of emotional precision does two things. It improves your English, and it improves your self-understanding. You begin to understand yourself better through language. That is not just learning English, that is developing awareness. Now let's talk about storytelling again, but with intention. Advanced storytelling is not about events. It is about transformation. It is not what happened. It is what changed because of what happened. Instead of saying, "I failed my exam and felt sad," you say, Failing that exam forced me to confront how much pressure I was placing on myself. Instead of saying, I moved to another country, you say, moving to another country slowly reshaped my identity in ways I didn't anticipate. This is reflective storytelling. This is advanced communication. You are no longer narrating life. You are interpreting it. And interpretation is what makes language meaningful. Let's explore boundaries. Advanced communication includes boundaries. Clear boundaries. Healthy boundaries. People who communicate at a high level know how to express limits calmly. Instead of saying, I don't want to do that, they say, I don't feel comfortable with that right now. Or, I need some space to think before I commit to this. Or, I value this relationship, but I also need to be honest about my capacity. This kind of language is respectful. It is mature. It is grounded. It does not create conflict. It creates understanding. That is powerful English. Now let's talk about nuance. Nuance is the difference between black and white thinking and layered understanding. Advanced speakers use nuanced language. Instead of saying, this is good, or this is bad, they say, this has strengths, but it also has limitations. Or, this situation is complicated, and there are multiple perspectives here. Or, I understand both sides, even though I lean toward one. This type of language shows depth of thought. It shows maturity. It shows balance. People trust speakers who can hold nuance, because life itself is nuanced. Now let's explore silence. Silence is an underrated part of communication. Advanced speakers are comfortable with silence. They do not rush to fill gaps. They do not fear pauses. They understand that silence can carry meaning. That reflection requires space. That listening is as powerful as speaking. When you allow silence, your words gain weight. When you pause before responding, your words feel intentional. This is especially important in spoken English. You do not need to speak quickly. You need to speak with presence. And presence often speaks slow. Let's talk about authenticity again, because it matters deeply. You do not need to sound like anyone else. You do not need to copy accents. You do not need to mimic personalities. Your English should sound like you. Your rhythm, your tone, your perspective, your experiences. Advanced communication is not imitation. It is integration. You are integrating language into your identity. That takes time. That takes patience. That takes consistency. But when it happens, your English stops feeling like a subject. It starts feeling like a part of you. Now let's talk about inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue affects your outer communication. If your internal voice is harsh, your language often becomes defensive. If your internal voice is anxious, your language often becomes hesitant. If your internal voice is compassionate, your language often becomes grounded. That is why advanced growth includes self-awareness. Not just practice, not just exposure, but reflection. When you listen to content like this, you are not only learning English, you are observing patterns of thought. You are absorbing tone. You are training your internal voice. Over time, your mind begins to shift. You begin to think more clearly. You begin to speak more calmly. You begin to express more authentically. That is deep learning. Now let's talk about patience. Advanced learners often become impatient because they understand a lot. They see progress. They want fluency now. But mastery is slow, not because you are weak, but because depth cannot be rushed. You are not building speed. You are building stability. Stability of understanding, stability of expression, stability of identity. That takes time, and that is okay. Let me share something important. You do not need to feel confident all the time. You do not need to feel articulate every day. You do not need to feel fluent in every moment. You are allowed to have quiet days. You are allowed to hesitate. You are allowed to search for words. That does not mean you are failing. That means you are human. Advanced speakers accept this. They do not fight the process. They trust it. Now let's talk about trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in your progress. Trust in your consistency. If you are listening to this regularly, your brain is changing. You may not feel it daily, but it is happening. Your listening skills are sharpening. Your sense of rhythm is improving. Your understanding of tone is deepening. One day, you will notice that you respond differently in conversations. You will choose words more naturally. You will pause more comfortably. You will feel more grounded while speaking. That moment will feel subtle. but it will be real. And when it happens, you will realize that this journey was worth it. Let's talk about purpose. Why are you learning English at this level? Not for exams, not for certificates, not for appearance. You are learning English to express who you are, to communicate your ideas, to share your perspective, to connect with the world. That is meaningful. That gives your learning direction. And when learning has direction, it becomes sustainable. You are not chasing fluency, you are building voice. That is a different journey. Now I want to speak to you directly, without teaching. If you are here, still listening, still engaged, that says something important about you. It says you are patient. It says you are reflective. It says you value growth. Not fast growth, real growth. And real growth always feels slow, because it is deep. You are not just learning English. You are becoming someone who thinks more clearly, who listens more carefully, who speaks more intentionally. That is not a small thing. That is transformation. And transformation does not need applause. It only needs consistency. Keep listening. Keep reflecting. Keep allowing language to shape you gently. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are exactly where deep learners usually are, quietly building something meaningful beneath the surface. And if you stay on this path, your English will not only improve, your voice will strengthen, your presence will deepen, your communication will evolve. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. And that kind of growth lasts.